All right, welcome to episode 6 of the 8-Push Writing Series. Today we're going to take a look at artifacts, how to use documents, as the College Board calls them, to support your argument in a DBQ. So, you've done all this stuff, what you have so far with the directions, everything. I'm not contradicting anything with that. We're just kind of drilling down more with this little episode to show you examples and some definitions and things like that. So you're scored in two ways using the docs. I'm asking you to use 6 of the documents as evidence, and then to integrate, number 2, to integrate the sourcing discussion into your analysis of 4 to 6 docs. Now about this 4 to 6, I'm asking you to do 4 to 6 for me, because if you aim for 4 to 6, and get 3 of them right, you get the point on the exam. So later on, I'll give you the choice if you want to just do 3 if you're so confident. But if you aim for 4 and miss 1 but get 3, you get the point on the exam in May. If you aim for 3 and miss 1 and get 2, you do not get the point. So I'm just having you think about, especially early on, just why don't you go ahead and just do this for 4 to 6 of them. In fact, I even give you some examples you can use in your essays today. So the second point is, there are specific ways we can go about doing both of these. You can, execute both of these in a pretty straightforward way. I know with writing, it's kind of hard to bring all this stuff together, but we can do this. This is there's a lot of directions in a DBQ. I think it's like a little bit much for a student to sit down and write this all in one sitting. But I've tried to sprinkle a lot of what's been done over the year, or what you have to do over the year, so it's not all new to you. So we're just going to go down another level with that today regarding the documents. Okay. So I think I've told you before, I did go to Kentucky one year and I graded DBQs, and the one thing that sticks out to me from that is that a lot of students, they just summarize the documents, and those were all, I'll just be honest, those were awful essays. They were awful to read. Because they weren't really making an argument. And the problem I think that happened, and it's probably easy to happen, is that students, they open this this book, and they see these documents, and all they can think about is the documents. So that's why I have you on our pre-writing protocol, that little pre-writing thing you do. I have you make your CK inventory first before you even look at the documents, or use them and start to plan for them. So that's important, because I think when you use the CK, you think about what we learned in class, you start to think about what this is about, and then it's best for the documents to kind of support what you would say in class. So in some ways, like a DBQ, I think the best way to write one almost is to think about it as an LEQ first, bring in your evidence, and then use the documents to support that. That's probably the easiest way to do it. And so anyway, but the students who don't do that, it's what I call the dreaded tour of the documents, where they're just summarizing documents. They're taking me on a tour of documents that I already know, just summarizing each one. So those score almost no points on the exam when students do that. So here's so don't forget to use the CK. Now I'm quoting the rubric here, the College Board rubric. The essay uses specific evidence beyond those found in documents. It's going to be relevant to the argument, of course, and then to earn the point, it's not just describing the evidence, dropping it down, like I've used the Civil Rights Act of '64. You have to use it in your, as evidence, and discuss it in a way that supports your argument. So that's the one thing. So what I'm requiring you to do is 1 to 2 pieces of relevant CK for each support section. So normally what that means for a student is, in your body paragraphs, for each body paragraph, you're going to have 1 to 2 pieces of relevant CK. Here's why this, I think, is really helpful. The CK will help anchor your argument. And so the documents kind of support that, but the CK really kind of nails down your argument. It reads much better. And again, all of this is, you're telling an analytical story, and you're trying to support your argument. All right. So now on to the documents. So remember, I told you that you're scored in 2 ways with the documents. The first way is evidence. So the College Board will either give you 0, 1, or 2 on that. And we talked about this in class today. To score 2, points. You have to do this right successfully, 6 documents. But the key part here is that you are not just quoting documents, but you use the documents to support an argument in response to the prompt. That's the key here to get the 2 points. It's nice. They give you a point if you're using the documents, but maybe not that well. They'll give you some points there, or 1 point there. All right, so that's what the rubric says. Now I'm going to show you some examples. Here's one that that did not get a point, and I'm not going to read it for you. This is where you can pause it. Here's one that does get a point. Actually, this gets 2 points. This gets 2 points. So you see how they're using social Darwinism here, and they're kind of explaining it. So okay, see what the student understands here. They're using they're using the document as evidence, and they're discussing the document in a way that supports the argument. Now this one is somewhere in between. This one gets 1 point. It summarized the document, but it didn't really use it that well, like in a support of an argument. So that gets 1 point. So again, you can pause these to kind of study them more. And you can use this. This is the only time I'll tell you this all year long. You can use the exact language of this in your draft because we're learning how to write, etc. So I'll let you do that. But remember, these are other students' arguments. So if it fits for your argument, great. But don't just put it in there if it doesn't really fit your argument. Okay. Now on to the second thing, the sourcing. So now I'm requiring you to do this for 4 to 6. In May, they require you to do it for 3. Again, I'm saying aim for 5 or whatever. Then if you get 3, then you get your point. If you aim for 3 and get only 2, you will not. You get 0. Binary choice. All right. So here, this is an important slide. First of all, for each document, you're only choosing one of the 4 sourcing elements. So these are those sourcing elements. When I say sourcing elements, I mean point of view, purpose, historical situation, audience. Those are the 4. And for each document that you're doing this for, you only you pick one sourcing element and use that. So sometimes I talked about this in class, but you have to look at the document and say, I think point of view really makes sense to use here because that Josiah Strong one comes to mind. Like their point of view or their worldview is such that whites are superior. I think that'd be relevant to talk about. And so that's like you pick one. It's like a menu. You pick one sourcing element per document. Okay. Next, do not quote the docs. The readers know what's in them, and they don't want you to use your space and time quoting documents they already know. So you can use them your paraphrase. So never quote a document. But you have to tell them that you're using a document. So there's 2 ways that you can do this. You can do it by putting the document in the text, like this example in Doc 3. FDR aims his message to the down and out Americans. This is for a different DBQ, not for this one. Here's another way to do that. FDR aims his message to down and out Americans. So he's making the same point, this writer, but they're just referencing the document in 2 different ways. You can embed it in the text here, or you can put it in parentheses. There are examples below so that you can just kind of see how it's done. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and discuss each of the elements. Here's the historical situation, basically context. I'll let you read that. But this is, I see it, it helps to know, the context of this time, like why are Americans, around 1940, why are they talking so much about foreign policy in Europe? Oh, that's right. Hitler's kind of making a move on Europe. So the context is important to understand maybe a American speech by Franklin Roosevelt. So here is an example of one that is successful and one that's not successful. Again, pause and study. On to point of view. So again, this is like their worldview of how they see just how they see things, and this might be influenced by their identity. So it says down here, if it's a woman, that might be a different take on things than a man, or their religion or ethnicity, their political affiliation. So when we're reading things, this is what I mean by sourcing. Like if I'm reading something, about President Trump, first thing I want to know is who's writing this and where are they on the political spectrum? Are they on the left? Are they on the right? Are they somebody on the right? So it's interesting to me when those on the right, some traditional conservatives, criticize the president. I think those kind of interesting reading to see what their arguments are. So that stuff's relevant. You can talk about that. All right, that's point of view. Next, here are examples: successful use of point of view, unsuccessful use of point of view. Pause and study. Rolling on. Here's purpose. So I like how the College Board, kicks this off. When an author creates a source, they're doing it for a reason. They might want to try to end a war. They might be trying to, paint an image that they might be want to paint something that somebody else might want to buy. That's probably more for European history. But the purpose of why they're doing it might shed light on the document itself. So that's what that's about. And here's an example of one that works and one that doesn't work. And moving on to audience. So who's this directed to? Who's getting the message here? Understanding the audience, does help. All right, and so that might, again, it shapes the message and what the author's saying. Here are examples of how this works and doesn't work. And that's it. So remember, the main points are you're going to be scored in two ways: using the documents as evidence and then as sourcing, and we can do this. So thank you. We'll keep working at this, and I look forward to working with everybody tomorrow in our workshop. We have a special guest coming, a student from U of M, who's going to help us, and then we'll build on this next week. So remember, you're going to take either draft 4, which is this week, or draft 5. One of those is going to make up your second essay, and so we'll talk about that. Thank you. See you Friday.